All right, fellas, welcome back to Tactical Enlightenment. In this episode, I'm going to help you dominate with the Khuzait and their powerful horse archers. We'll use the overhead RTS mod extensively here, and by the end of these tutorial battles, even new players with very little experience will be crushing your foe with the Mongol horde and send them running for the hills. All right, friends, welcome back again to the episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, but especially Advanced Battlefield Command and Tactics. And I was just about to release an episode covering Advanced Khuzait Tactics when I realized that would be doing a disservice to you fellas. The guys out there that are just learning to play the Khuzait or maybe struggling with this unique kingdom need to learn the basic tactics first. So we're going to set up very simplified tactics here in several different battle examples, outnumbered by 20%. At least 20% by all of our opponents. And the first example here, we will try a mixed army of Imperials. Now, both sides have all the tier 4, 5, and 6 units. In other words, equal quality strengths armies. And that's about the army composition I would recommend for the Khuzait. 15% infantry, 35% give or take archers, 10% heavy cavalry, and 42% or 40% give or take horse archers. So we will try these against different kingdoms, different scenarios. And what I'm going to try to do in most of this series is use this RTS overhead perspective, because for most players, this is the easiest way to understand and see what the heck is going on with these tactics. So I'm going to run the same unit configuration each battle, and I will explain the little nuances of that in detail this first fight here against the Imperials, and then we will shorten it in the next 3 or 4 battles. So we're going to run 2 equal cav divisions, the 2nd and 3rd. The 4th and 5th are 2 archer divisions, one of them being tilted towards the stronger archers. We want basically a powerful archer division and a weaker archer division. Now we're going to use these hills here. Anytime you have a terrain advantage, you want to use it. These hills protects our archers from cav charges and also allows them to shoot down on the enemy as they approach our forces. We're also going to give archer wings a defensive cav unit. I find it works very well to distract the enemy and also prevent a full speed charge into our archers. So you will see me do this in almost every battle. That 2nd division now protects these archers a little bit. And understand, these cav divisions do not get to fight. Cavalry would hate fighting in my army. They're not going to be used offensively until late in the battle. Now, the 1st division, this infantry division, we're going to be squaring almost every single one of these because Khuzait's not going to win with your infantry. If you're trying to win with Khuzait infantry, that's like... it's just not appropriate for their culture. It doesn't mean you can't win with their infantry. It just doesn't make sense. It's like you're entering a bicycle into a NASCAR race. Now, the 4th and 5th archers are going to be placed opposite of each other in every single one of these examples. And what I mean by that is an equidistance roughly from that 1st division, maybe 80 game units, 80 meters, or choose your metric. Again, we'll pair them with a cav division to protect them from enemy horse charges. The last 2 divisions are horse archer divisions. The 7th is the weaker of the 2, and we will protect them a little bit more. They will also be on just engage, which is F1, F4 command. I'm not sure what it is on console, but that should be pretty easy for you to do. When the enemy gets close, we will have those guys engage. The only division, and I mean the only division that we're going to be moving in this first example is this 8th Corps. We will move our elite horse archers depending on where the threat is and what is the appropriate spot for them. Generally on a flank like this, right to the enemy's side. And I will explain my thought process as the enemies come in. I forgot to mention, of course, your archers should be spread formation, your cav lines, shield wall, and like I said before, that infantry in a square. I also always spread horse archer divisions. That way, enemy horse archers, like the ones coming up, or archers shooting at them, they're missing a lot, right? It's landing right next to the guy instead of hitting his buddy. All right, so this square, you could micromanage it and sort of shove it at the enemy, but this first example, I want to do nothing. I don't want to overwhelm you guys. We're literally just going to dance with the girl we brought to the prom here, and whatever happens, happens, right? They're charging over here. they're going to charge one of your archer divisions and probably destroy an archer division and a cav division. That's fine. We're just trying to win the battle here, right? We're not trying to overwhelm the enemy with like an incredible Sun Tzu-like tactical victory. We're not trying to be Frederick the Great in this first example. That's why this episode is basic Khuzait tactics. The archers are getting knocked around and stuff like that, speared. That's okay, right? A lot of them are not being attacked by cavalry because they're attacking our cavalry wing there on the side. The square is kind of being ignored. In a perfect world, we would get the enemy to attack our square, and if I were micromanaging this, I would have them charge. I don't even want to move these archers back, right? Again, in a perfect world, you would move these archers away from the infantry. We'll just let that infantry eat alive that archer division. Why? Because the other side, all of these archers are free, right? This 100 whatever, and that is the elite division. 100 elite archers are just firing unimpeded into the backs of the enemy here. So even though these archers were just slaughtering these guys, it's basically it's a chess trade, right? We're letting the opponent take our bishop and we take their queen. This infantry vanguard, even though they just killed those archers, is in no man's land. They're a long ways from our horse archers over there. They're being shot across the valley from our archers over there. As they chase and pursue the archers over there, they're getting shot in the back by the horse archers. These guys, this whole episode, have basically been unmaligned, and this battle, actually, friends, is over. The infantry vanguard comes up here, and even if they're able to destroy this square, it's not going to matter, right? Our horse archers are over there shooting them in the back. Our horse archers are finishing off the enemy horse archers. That square does look like it'll get annihilated, but the battle is still over, right? Because this infantry division is now so shot to pieces that the handful of guys that are coming in here, it looks like they're haplessly chasing some horse archers. These guys are toast, right? Once they get close to these archers will whip out their little scimitar. They're already shot to pieces so badly, they're not going to be able to take this archer division. And with that infantry division falling apart and the enemy routing, this battle is over, right? The only thing the enemy has left is archers, and now we can just sit and watch our ranged units go to work. Now, if I was micromanaging here, I would charge, right? We would just finish this battle quickly. You can see we have a 2-to-1 KDR and over twice as many troops left compared to the enemy. And of course the horse archers are charging here. We'll just get on a charge here just to speed this up. I didn't want to micromanage too much this first episode, and so the kill ratio is not going to be nearly as good as it could have been. But the bottom line here is we're wildly successful, right? With very minimal troop movement. Almost everything we did was pre-battle. And as you can see, basically a 2-to-1 KDR. Again, in a battle that we're outnumbered. If you let the sergeants run that battle, you lose. All right, so let's set this up for the sturgeons. 720 sturgeons against 600 of ours. We'll do an infantry heavy sturgeon army. Again, tier 4, 5, and 6 for both sides. That way it's relatively similar army strengths. And again, we have a nice, beautiful open battlefield here. I'm not going to go into tactics in this episode about how to use Khuzait in the forest. First of all, if you're using Khuzait in the forest, you're going to have a hard time. You could still win. But second of all, you guys won't be able to see shit. There'll be trees all over the place. Even this little polka dot, little dotting of trees that are in this episode makes me a little bit uncomfortable as a content producer. I'm aware you guys, if you can't see what's going on, you're not going to learn shit, right? You might as well just close your eyes and listen to my dumb ass. All right, so same units as before, exactly the same. And I do this for uniformity, for you and for me. That way, when I'm playing the game, if I hit the number 8 button, I know I'm in charge or commanding my elite horse archer division. If you change your units each battle, you're going to have a much harder time learning how to command in Bannerlord. So we will try an unbalanced approach this time, a little bit of a different approach. We're going to put the 5th and the 8th division up on that hill almost every time. You can use elevation. You want to use it. We'd use those rocks in a perfect world. For this episode, we'll just have the weakest archer division down here in the valley. We will have engage again on that 8th division of horse archers, and let's unbalance the side. Let's put our best horse archer division and best archers up here and see if we can't make this work. Each episode, or each battle, I guess we'll call this, we will enhance things just a little bit, add like one more step to be a little bit more successful in each battle. And here's a good point. Let me show you this. These archers here, we just positioned them. You can't see this with the RTS mod, but those guys can't see anything, right? Your archers need to be able to see to shoot, of course. They need line of sight, so it helps sometimes to fight down on the battlefield and micromanage your units. If you're going to be setting up your archers as you usually will as a commander, you want to go in and look to make sure that they can actually see. Same thing with the horse archers. I can now see that all of those archers can fire down into the valley here at the enemy. Now, most players that have played the game know that Sturgia has excellent infantry, but it's not going to matter here, right? This is a rock, paper, scissors situation for him. Khuzait, if played correctly, absolutely destroys Sturgia. Again, you see our cav line there. We'll zoom in here, and you can see how effective this is. The enemy cav kind of mills about and doesn't know what to do with it. It's kind of attacking them from behind. And most of our archers are free here, firing away, killing cavalrymen with every other shot. This horse archer division in the back, I've mentioned it before, right? We can just have this division engage, right? It's F1, F4 on the PC, and I'm sure there's an engage command on the console. What that does effectively with those guys is they skirmish. In other words, the AI does its very best to keep them away from danger while still keeping them close enough to the battle to do damage. Now over here we have the strength of our army, right? I told you before, we have our best horse archers, we have Khan's guards, and we're going to stick them further to the side of the enemy. See how we can stick them right here, and they're basically directly on the flank of the enemy. The reason that's beneficial is not only are they going to be shooting the enemy archers, but they're going to be hitting the enemy infantry in the side and the back. Now let's make it worse. All of these tough sturgeon infantrymen are coming up to our square. A little tiny step you can take to have even more success under this scenario is to have a mobile square. A square doesn't hold together quite as well when it's moving, but all I have to do is tell this division and move it away from the infantry, from the sturgeon infantry that's attacking it. And you see what's happening here. We're dragging it right in between our two different archer divisions. We've got a cav division just standing there, by the way. You could have them charge, right? If there's nothing near them, if they're not helping, they might as well charge. And here they come, and they're kind of stabbing the sturgeon infantry in the side. But what's really doing all the damage here is the fact that their sturgeon infantry is being dragged into this complete gauntlet of arrows. Horse archers, just completely shredding them. And even if they destroy that square, they're going to be stuck in a maelstrom. You can just see the arrows raining in. And just like that first battle, at this stage, the battle is already over. And we didn't really do that much at all. Archers in Bannerlord are supremely powerful. So Khuzait, if you have horse archers and archers, really does approach overpowered. However, you need to know how to use them. And at least one of these examples here, if I can remember, we will let the AI go ahead and fight it out, just so that you can see you need tactics. In other words, if you have the sergeants in charge, you won't win some of these battles. You need still to have tactics, despite the fact that Khuzait is obviously very powerful. We'll just clean this battle up here just so that we can get the little perfunctory victory sign here at the end, but another completely destructive battle. You got this little cowardice vanguard holding back here with their flag, bunch of dipshits. And this isn't just a successful battle, this is a massacre. We have over half of our troops left, and the enemy runs in fear. All right, so 2 for 2. And again, hopefully this ground level and the RTS perspective helps you guys. A 3-to-1 kill ratio here again, despite the fact that we are outnumbered. Okay, so let's do the Aserai now. Again, we'll just set this up so you can see it. 4th, 5th, and 6th units for each side. That way, both sides don't have any weak units. It's kind of what a mature army starts to look like in Bannerlord. We'll give them that companion there gives them some melee combat bonuses. And here, let's do this. This first example. Let's just see what happens if you have the Khuzait with the AI. Let's see. Our plan is to try and hold this narrow pass. What pass do you mean there, sir? You'd be going back to your officer and being like, what pass? There is no pass. We're in a giant open valley. Okay, that's a little better. Our plan is to remain defensive. The huge Aserai vanguard here is pouring up. That doesn't look good. The archers briefly charged. They're getting slaughtered. I don't know what's going on here. At least now the archers they're back a little ways. Our plan is to attack with the full force of our infantry. Sir, we have 80 infantry. Maybe I would suggest different tactics. Sir? Oh, he got killed. Charge, he says. And we don't need to watch this whole battle. You can already see that we're losing. The enemy still has 500 troops, and we have under 300. That's not good. In comes their giant infantry vanguard, a bunch of angry palace guards closing in on our archers. The AI is making no attempt to kite here. I don't think it would matter. Even if they did, then they'd get run down by vanguard Aserai Ferris. And this is perfect, right? It's a perfect... It basically shows you how you must use tactics and don't use the sergeant, because we got completely destroyed here. The enemy had 400 troops left in that example. So let's try to fight the exact same Aserai force using the exact same tactics that we've showed you here, right? You don't have to adjust anything if you use these tactics correctly. Now you want to use your terrain, right? We got a nice little hill there, a little pocket to defend. I'm trying not to use terrain too much for this series. I'm trying not to get too technical. There are all kinds of terrain advantages and terrain tactics you can use in Bannerlord, and we do cover that on the channel. But of course, for this sort of basic Khuzait tactics episode, I don't want to start talking about reverse slope declines and kill boxes and funnels and other things here. We will keep this fairly basic. In fact, I think it makes more sense to do this out in the open so we don't take advantage of terrain too much. Don't confuse you too much with terrain. And again, we will use very similar tactics here. By now, I'm hoping that you're ready to pass your Khuzait 101 course and go out and start dominating. Anybody who's still watching, right, we will continue to narrate here and show you in great detail. I will talk about little nuances here that hopefully help you. Again, we will add a little wrinkle each episode, and that's how I recommend learning Bannerlord. Starting with a very simplex idea, right? A very simple, and then working towards a more complex process. Again, we have our 8th Corps over here, this big horse archer division. If I was playing in Bannerlord down the ground level, I would have those guys follow me most of the time, but you do want them to stop sometimes, and there's a really good reason for that. That is because horse archers are less accurate when they move. So the instinct is to have them moving, right? Because then they're not taking as much damage. It's actually a lot better to move them from place to place. In other words, if there's a bunch of infantry or cavalry charging them, have them move back. But as soon as they're sort of free and clear of any attack, besides enemy archers, right? You can't avoid the fact that enemies are going to be shooting at them. I would have them stand still. And then when there's any kind of threat, like an infantry division is closing on them, they can simply move away. And that is easily the biggest advantage of horse archers is melee like this should really never get a hold of them if you don't want them to, right? If it's a small infantry division, you don't really care. Your cons guards will just destroy them anyway. All right, so the Aserai are moving in their forces like normal. We're going to engage again with that 7th Corps. Nothing has changed. And this 8th Corps, I'm just going to ignore their cavalry and put it on the flank here. Now, they have a huge amount of archers there, and their vanguard, again, is kind of running past our square, right? They're sort of charging our archers over here. I said this the first battle. This time we'll actually do it. Just move them back, and that buys your archers some time. While that's happening, while the enemy's chasing your archers, your other units are shooting the enemy. So even more damage is being done here. If you repeatedly kite like that, that's called kiting, when you pull your troops back when they're about to be attacked. If you repeatedly do that, your archers will basically never get engaged by enemy infantry. If you have your timing and distances down, your archers will be unbeatable. For this episode, of course, I don't want to do that. In fact, we'll just let them swallow up these archers at this stage. I just wanted to show you that process. Even a single kiting like that helps a lot because you're buying your units a lot of time. All right, so the screen flushes red. You're panicking as a commander, right? No, we're not going to panic at all because we still have our square. These archers are untouched over here, firing away. We have a cav division here. We can just charge, right? These guys, they don't have a job right now. We'll just have them charge. And critically, on the other side, this elite horse archer division has really not been bothered this whole battle. They are firing away. They're firing away at the enemy archers. Again, just to speed it up here, this battle is over. We will charge. All of our units converge. The enemy infantry just melts away. Their moments from routing their archers aren't going to last very long either. And 3 for 3 here, using this very basic tactic. We have destroyed heavy infantry forces, javelin cavalry divisions in the Aserai. We've even destroyed a mixed army of Imperials. All right, so let's see what else. We can do trying to think. You know, if you're playing Khuzait, the Aserai and the Imperials are going to be, and the Sturgeons are going to be your primary threats. If you're fighting Vlandia, you're probably very late in the campaign, or it's a highly unusual campaign map, right? Like the Vlandians are on the opposite side of as the Khuzait. But we will go ahead and demonstrate here. We haven't done this, so let's go ahead and demonstrate this. A heavy cavalry charge. In other words, if you fight an army with lots of cavalry, your horse archers can't kite, right? Aren't you doomed? No. We'll show you the exact same tactics still apply here. Apologies here. Silence our phone. Throw it over there and continue on here. Apologies for these little interruptions. Real life. All right, so we'll fight on the Vlandian home field advantage, a nice big open battlefield. But to be perfectly honest, of course, a nice big open battlefield favors the Khuzait just as much as the Vlandians, right? This is not that big of an advantage for Vlandia. All right, so same thing we've been doing. And again, I can't emphasize how easy this is to set up. Once you have your formations sort of memorized, your first is infantry, your second and third is cavalry, equal divisions, your fourth and fifth are archers, one of them being stronger than the others, and you get that by putting that little chevron up there. I want a nice open area, so we're actually going to move these guys forward here. And again, we'll use the RTS mod here so it's easy to see. You could fight back here, but it's going to be easier for demonstration's sake for me to fight way out in the open. But you guys have already seen this formation has worked for everything so far. It's worked against a mixed army. It's worked against a heavy cavalry army. It destroyed a combination army of the Aserai that have a lot of throwing weapons, javelins and javcav. Now we'll try a heavy cavalry army. And I think really the only thing to try after this would be Battania with tons of fian champs, which is probably the hardest battle for the Khuzait. But if you follow my tactics again, it should work. You notice those rocks there were just sort of anchoring that archer division. I told you I wasn't going to use terrain too much. Anytime you have a little advantage like that, use it, right? If the enemy cavalry's charging and there's a bunch of trees and rocks in their way, it's going to help your side win. Again, we'll put this 8th Division just off to the side. Again, you see each battle, we're moving it up aggressively once the battle gets going. Now I'm just adjusting where our cav divisions are and the infantry is. This time we're just micromanaging a little bit more. I'm shoving the infantry right towards the enemy infantry, our infantry square, so that they basically are forced to intercept it. And I moved our cav divisions in ways that are beneficial, triangulating their approach. In other words, wherever the enemy was coming, we simply put our cav lines so that it would absorb more of their charge. Now, again, we're going to pull that square back towards the middle, leaving these guys completely as they are, right? They're mauling our cavalry. That's fine. We have like 50 cavalry. We'll trade a pawn for a bishop. Our infantry is doing an excellent job of drawing the enemy in. It looks like the enemy's stumbling a little bit or trudging through the mud. We'll now put our horse archers right behind this infantry, right? You can put them up close. I haven't been doing this for most of these because I didn't want to overwhelm you guys, but you put them closer and they do even more damage. They're firing almost point blank into the back of those Vlandian infantrymen. Now we can do an all charge because, again, this battle is over. And this is maybe the worst example of all of them, right? We didn't just win here. This is a complete destruction of this Vlandian force. All right, let's do Battania. This is probably the hardest matchup for Khuzait, especially with lots of archers. And just to make it extra hard, we will be the attacker. So fighting against Battanians, and we will be offensive. They're likely to form a defensive... what's going on here? How come I... Whoops. Apologies. We still have it set to Sergeant here. We will show you basically how to deal with an entrenched enemy of Battanians. And again, this is another example where the AI probably wouldn't win, right? They would probably slam themselves in and do some other dipshit stuff and get destroyed. Now, you notice already I'm making a subtle change. If you're fighting an opponent that's defensive, I recommend one cav division for offense, and I will show you as we approach the enemy. We're going to have a 2nd division paired with our 8 horse archers. We're basically going to protect and plow the road with heavy cavalry because they have shields, and then the rest of our units are in the same formation that you've gotten familiar to with this stage. 4th and 5th, these two roughly equal-sized archer divisions, they will be moved up on the enemy flank. And the 7th Division, let's make it a little bigger, 7th Division also being on engage, right? We will use that same command of engage. Now, we're going to charge from our right to our left with cavalry and horse archers, but we're a little distance away from the enemy, so I can explain what we're going to do here as we move our units up. They're going to have lots and lots of archers, lots of projectile units, and they're going to be raining in death on us. In fact, you can see, unfortunately, they're forming sort of the dreaded circle formation. And I say dreaded, I mean that from the AI perspective. That's a terrible formation. And I'm half hesitating to show you this because this battle's already over. With Khuzait against a circle formation, you should never lose. And the main reason is that the AI does not separate their units far enough. If they wanted to do that accurately, they should have some archers outside the circle and spread out all over the place so that we were getting pelted as we moved up. But nevertheless, we will operate here. Again, these are basic tactics. We will cover complex Khuzait tactics. In fact, I already have. I will just upload that and publish it a couple 4 days after I release this. Right? You got to learn how to crawl first before you can beat Usain Bolt in 100 meters. All right. So what we're going to do here, of course, is circle the enemy's circle with our archers, right? We're going to put an archer division off to the side. We'll give them an infantry division because there's no protection over there. The horse archers here are right in front. And I'm a little early here. I would prefer to have my other divisions ready to go before that 7th and weaker horse archer division was getting shot at. But that's okay. If we suffer some losses at the beginning, it's not really going to matter. So 4th and 5th archers get put up on the enemy's wings, and let's just let their cav here charge our guys. In fact, we really fucked up that cavalry. The horse goes flying through the air. Our horse archers are in brilliant position. And now let's start to spin this whole enemy formation, right? We'll move our archers onto the enemy flank. I'm actually going to put horse archers behind them. They're breaking out of their shell here, their little circle. They've given up on it. And all we're going to do is move the 2nd and 8th cavalry behind the enemy here, right? We have archers on the other 3 sides. We're just going to surround this force of 600 Battanians with horse archers and archers. Now, I want to put cavalry right in the face of the enemy. And the reason I'm doing that, not to charge, but I want them absorbing arrows, absorbing javelins. I want their units that have throwing weapons and arrows and bows to be shooting our defending cavalry instead of our horse archers. So you can see I'm actually moving my cavalry into their force, right? It's going to cause some chaos in there. That's not how we're planning on winning, is with heavy cavalry. We're planning on shooting the enemy to death, and that's what's happening. These 7th horse archers, again, you can tell them to engage. They will close in until they can shoot. And we have the enemy formation completely turned around. They have now turned their archers around right into the crossfire of our 3 archer divisions. The horse archers are skirmishing. We could charge with our infantry here, even though they'll get annihilated. It's not going to matter. In the back here, our horse archers are having a field day, firing into their ranks. Both sides are covered with archer divisions, and it would be hard for the enemy to be in a worse spot than they are right now. In fact, this battle is instantly over. And this might be the worst example of all of them. A total massacre here, despite the fact that they had, 100 fian champs. All right, this might be a little bit harder, actually, because they might not form that dipshit circle formation. Let's give them even more fian champs, right? 56%. They're going to have way more fian champs now than we have Consguards. And let's see again if the same conceptual tactics work. Here's a hint. Yes, it works. All right, so again, 7th and 8th horse archer divisions. I'm repeating this over and over again. Just because sometimes it helps to have something repeated in front of you, right? Some people are visual learners, other people are not. So sometimes you need repetition to see stuff. And of course, I'm just doing this. Sometimes I narrate and don't produce the episode. So I will just continue to narrate here and talk about the thought process. 2nd, 8th, again, paired, those 2 divisions. And hopefully that makes perfect sense. The horse archers themselves have no shields and not a lot of protection. They have armor, but they're shooting their bow. That means if they get charged by enemy cavalry, they're sort of vulnerable, right? They're holding their bow out and they get speared in the face. If you pair them with the cav division, suddenly they have this big protection of heavily armored shield spear cavalry that'll really help them fend off the enemy cavalry attack. All the same normal formations here, right? The 4th, 5th, 7th. I would also recommend you put these archer divisions on the same side consistently. I have changed it up a few times in this series. I wouldn't recommend that for a newer player. Just keep it the same. You can even do it numerically, left to right, like we would type a keyboard. Do the 4th on the left, the 5th on the right, etc. That way you know where your units are at all times. So 135. Yeah, they have 135 Fian champions. That's way more than we have Khans guards. Again, this is a scenario we should lose, but I don't think we're going to, right? With these tactics, I'm almost certain. I can't be certain, but I'm almost certain that this is still going to work. Taking advantage of that high hill there on the right, we're going to stick our horse archers in that cav division way up there. They've got some cavalry on the left, but I'm just not worried about it. The bottom line is that spear cavalry in Bannerlord do not act like they would in real life. And if you know that, then you're a lot less afraid of having your archers charged by cavalry. You shouldn't be afraid at all. They just do not hurt archers like you think they would. I mean, here they come, and trust me, those guys are going to be just fine. In fact, I'm ignoring the cavalry and moving the archers right up on the enemy. Now, a little difference here. You could have these guys in a square, but shield wall's better. That way, none of the guys are holding up their shield in the wrong direction. We'll move these archer divisions in closer. The closer you are with archers, the more damage they're doing. And again, this 2nd and 8th division, all we're going to do here is conflusticate the enemy. We're moving them up very bravely, very audaciously here, right in the face of their cavalry. We just want this cav division right behind the enemy and this horse archer division, so it starts to menace the enemy archers. The enemy archers won't like a bunch of cavalry being right behind them, and you can see it's actually spinning their whole formation. They're turning their formation to try to avoid getting a spear up the butt. I guess the best way to describe that is the AI thinks cavalry is deadly to archers. We know it's not, right? So the AI is trying to protect their units here when they really shouldn't worry about it. All right, closing in for the kill here. The horse archers are on this side. The cavalry's on this side. Infantry is charging the other side. There's an archer division on that far side. And again, the enemy's surrounded here. Now, I don't want to charge with this infantry. I'm actually just going to put them in a square and leave them right here in front of the enemy, right? I'm hoping they attack that square. It's like, please attack the square. We like that. Our cav division here is just holding the line, right? They're being shot at. They don't care. They got their shield up. Our horse archers are now point blank firing into the enemy ranks. Their archers are actually running all over the place, terrified. They're being skewered. Now we can charge with this cav division, this 1st infantry division. And at this stage, the enemy this is another battle where the enemy AI has essentially been broken. The AI does not know what to do about this situation. A lot of players would not know what to do if they're surrounded. We can just charge here with every unit. You can see the death spam here, even though we're outnumbered facing Fian champions. This wasn't even close, right? It's basically like we broke the AI. And I guess before this episode closes out, in a way, I apologize. I apologize for making tactics that'll make you so good at Bannerlord that vanilla is easy. I will say, for those playing on a PC especially, there are lots of mods that will make Bannerlord harder and give you the appropriate challenge that you want. Now, you know what? For this final battle here, let's just go ahead and demonstrate again how tactics are essential here. We will try this same Khuzait force and see if they can destroy the Battanians. See if they can even win first, but see if they have any kind of success like we just had. I mean, that was the worst example of all of them. I think we had 100 losses there against Fian champs and whatnot. We just completely broke the AI and gave them a convulsion. You can picture them foaming at the mouth in a seizure because they had no idea what to do. Now, this is bad, right? They're rushing up with their horse archers against 500 Fian champs. How do you think that's going to go, right? Now they're getting charged by cavalry and jav cav. A battle we just won. If you're running around still on a horse with sergeants in control, you're just playing a different game than you need to. And I guess if you're having fun doing that, the more power to you. I'm not telling you guys how to play Bannerlord, but this has to be frustrating. If you're in this Khuzait army, you're like desperately trying to get a few extra kills to swing this battle. Your archers are nowhere to be seen because these horse archers are hundreds of yards away from the rest of the forces. We just lost half of our forces before the real engagement even start. It says I'm hitting a friendly troop, so the AI is so bad it's actually hitting its own players. Now it's charging, which is a really bad decision because they have this huge infantry block and huge amounts of Fian champs and stuff like that. You don't want to be charging with Khuzait until the enemy's on the ropes. Right here, they're charging a virtually untouched infantry line. Again, how do you think that's going to go? They're getting a little bit of green right now because they're shooting them from behind with the Khans guards. Yeah, they just charged Fian champs. It's a giant flush of red. They're getting a few kills here. It actually turned green there briefly. But watching the power bar, it's still a battle we're going to lose, right? This is a battle that we easily won here. You're riding around desperately trying to help your Khuzait force win. And you still, unless you kill 100 guys, I guess, you're still going to lose this battle. So again, one last piece of evidence that tactics are essential here. A battle we just easily won. Here we put it in charge of the sergeants and they pretty comfortably lose. All right, fellas. So if you want to see advanced tactics with the Khuzait, we'll have an episode soon. You want to subscribe, of course, if you want to see more tactics from our channel. Maybe you want to win with the Sturgeons and not Khuzait. Please leave comments and likes and all that good stuff. I appreciate you, fellas. And I will see you guys next time.